Hey there, guys. Good morning. So I decided, why not kick off this awesome Sunday? Sunday is just one of my favorite days. It is a time for thinking, a time for just getting the mind right. And I think one of the biggest issues I see with coaches, and I know that it was just a big issue for me as a coach when I started my business in 2010, is this money mindset. Money mindset, I know for me, as being a person that had ulcerative colitis, asthma, food allergies, asthma, life support twice, kids with food allergies, kids with a lot of early intervention and more, is that when I started this business, and still today, my heartstrings are pulled in so many ways. I was talking to one of my autoimmune sisters the other day, and she nailed it, because we were talking about how in this business, our heartstrings are pulled, that so often we're like, oh my God, here, just take it. Here, take the whole course, take the everything, because we just want to fix. We just want to take away the pain. We want it to be gone. And so we often find ourselves saying, no, it's okay. And we don't want to like charge our worth, not because we don't want to charge our worth, but it just triggers so much of our pain. Or if you're a caretaker, it triggers your why. It triggers all of that. So if you get that, drop an emoji heart. If you don't know my story, stay around for some more, or just, go and listen to some other videos. I often will cry just because, man, that path, to removing the emotional, the metaphysical, the spiritual, the road that it takes is just not easy. And you hear it, because you hear my throat chakra. It just, boom, it crashes. Before I go on to even like talking about making money in this business when your heart is so connected, I'm going to just talk about a message that I had going yesterday with a coach. Her name is Nicole Ritter. She is a coach that I love. She is on Instagram. She posted something about IBS, and I have said to her, girl, I need to have you on my podcast, because this work that you're doing is so important. It's so important to talk about this and stress and how it influences gut and IBS and autoimmune, because I started with IBS, more on the constipation, more with having a lack of fluid in the intestines, is what was said to me when I was 14 and first diagnosed with an ulcer. And that was a big, huge problem for me. It was gut issues. There was food allergies, but I was like many, many people, many of the clients that I had with Rachel's Wellness, where it wasn't evident. We didn't look sick, but there was a lot of sickness inside, and that sickness just kept brewing. And that's the story of many of us, is we didn't look sick, but we knew something was really wrong. And so we kind of just like got missed in the system, because it wasn't like we were dying per se. I know that sounds horrible, but I can't tell you how many of my clients looked healthy, yet their test, you would have thought, how are you even moving? And so when I think it was Jefferson or Hahnemann, I was very fortunate that I grew up in Philly around amazing, amazing hospitals and universities. And so they said to me, we've never seen this, which was, I think, one of the billion times, no joke, that this was told to me. And I said to her, the progression of gut issues. And thank goodness I sat listening to Dave Asprey this morning on a podcast with Paul Chek, who is one of my favorite pioneers and warriors. I've listened to him. He was one of my inspiration, Terry Walls, when I really, way before I even became a coach, and was just looking for people to follow, who I could say, if they did it, I can do it too. It was like they were the people, the light at the end of the tunnel. So I said to her, thank you for doing this work, because if we don't show the progression of this sickness, of how stress and how this toxic world hurts our system and the gut and the microbiome and the gut and brain access, and how it affects our mood and how it affects so many of these different aspects, it's going to be really hard to get healthy, because the IBS led, to colitis, eventually led to ulcerative colitis and so on. And she said in this text message, wow, I know a lot of people who ended up with ulcerative colitis on medication, infusions, and still did not recover. And I said, yeah, I was one of the lucky. And then I said, actually, I wasn't lucky. I was relentless. And a lot of people, it's not that they aren't relentless, it's that they lose that power along the way, because there's only so many times that you can get told, it must be in your head. Maybe you have anxiety. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe it's fibromyalgia. Maybe it's lupus. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. And there's only so many times that you can get diagnosed. I know this. Go home, cry, feel helpless, feel hopeless, feel depressed, feel suicidal, feel everything, because it's such a lonely road. Or you keep just digging and digging and looking, which causes more adrenal fatigue. We all know there, we've been there. And I said to her, that road means that you are ripping away trauma, PTSD, emotional, metaphysical, Dietrich Klinghardt, family constellation, working with people to relentlessly pull out epigenetic stuff. You're doing the nutrigenomic, you're doing all that stuff. And as I talked about the Chinese herbs to rebuild the blood and all these things that I've done, thinking about the cranial sacral, thinking about all these people that I worked with, I said to her, it's not that I was lucky. It's that I continue to search and to find and to be willing to do what everyone said. I was so broken and so scared that I would end up like my grandmother, dying of a bleeding ulcer. Like my other grandmother, dying, which is it's very common for Jewish Ashkenazi women and men. And, it's a trait in German and Russian for Jewish Ashkenazi people to have colon issues. I used to have polyps. And so to die like my grandmother, of colon cancer. And so I was just so scared of my hereditary makeup, of the Epstein-Barr that had just, been bled in my family, and to see and to witness what these sicknesses and these diseases had done. And so I was always eyes wide open, would do anything. And I think that's the really scary thing, is we all know the information, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot of willingness. It also takes a lot of willingness to be that scared, and to also try to fit it in a world that's really busy. I tell you all of that because when I sit there and think of doing coffee enemas and rebounding multiple times a day, and doing some of the things, hydrogen peroxide therapy and all of these things that I've done, I think about my clients and some of the people that I've worked with and in team collaboration who were so sick. Maybe in team collaboration, with meaning that they were so sick that I was working with other people because their detoxification pathways were not open. And so I knew that it would go past my scope. They were working with other people to make sure that they were going to be okay. There was maybe, I could count them on my hand, people that were willing to do the things that I was willing to do. And I tell you all of that because many of us think or build our entire business thinking that it's going to be like a person like us. That has to be a changed mindset to begin with. And a lot of us think that it's just going to be like us. And so please, as you go into even this next month, I'm changing my mindset and going, you know what, this is going to be like a new year. This is to kick off this new month. Please just even think about that, because, we all know our stories. We all know them in our head. The stories are so close to our heart that the pain is there, but sometimes we don't realize that we really are speaking to ourselves when we do these workshops, when we are writing our programs, when we're writing our copy, and it really takes away from, changing the world, attracting our ideal client. So it's something that I realized actually in year 2. It's not that I didn't get clients. It's not that I didn't get people, but it was a real aha moment. And it was actually a moment where I had to let go, and a moment that I actually felt sad about, because I really thought that I would attract a me constantly. And it was in that moment that I let go of that. A lot of like my heart, chakra, and my throat, which I constantly work on, that I did start to attract the more of me because I let go. So let go. And then now what we're going to do is I want to jump in. I have been sitting on calls this whole week, and it really just woke me up to how I built my business, which is a lot different from what we see in a lot of these, even the talks that I do, like, okay, do it like this, and got to show up for your personality. So I want to just walk you through how I do things. Doesn't mean that you need to do it exactly, but as I was doing this the other day for 2 different coaches, when they were trying to figure out what to buy, I realized, oh, wow, in watching their faces on Zoom, and it was actually 2 different coaches who are graduating. One is graduating from Ayan, one was graduating from Precision Nutrition. And it was in their faces where they were like this, that I realized, okay, so maybe this is not what's being taught. And please, like certain people just have maybe this part that is a little more established, and it's just called a storyteller. I am by nature a storyteller. You can ask my loved ones at home. You can ask anybody in my membership, coaches that have followed me, friends, anybody. Storyteller. I'm the person who walks up to like the stranger and like, oh my God, I love that. Where'd you get that? Even though I appear very extroverted, I get a little nervous in big crowds. Doesn't mean that I'm, extroverted. I don't like to be in big crowds. But I do like to tell stories, and storytelling is a really big part of your business. And so I'm just going to take you through as if this was me promoting my business and really helping people to understand what gut health is like for me. I just told you kind of my big story and my why, and helped you to understand, what happened in my life. So you kind of understand that. That was like some mini intro stories. Imagine if you were on my website back then at Rachel's Wellness, and maybe you had just read my About Me story. That was in a video. So that was kind of like a 10-minute intro video. Or for those of you in my membership and you're like, oh, Rach, now I get it. That 10-minute is everything that you've been making us do on these like intro videos for our social media. Yes, that's my About Me. And that could be chunked down also into like a 5 or 6 little intro videos, each of those stories, because you kind of heard them. They were like this happened and then I did this. This happened and then I did this. It's what happened. What was life like? What did you do? You dropped to your knees and then you did what? And you learned what, so that you can help people. And then this is what I do. So now you're going to come into my home, what my business is like, so you get a really clear sense of what it's like to work with me. The cool thing is when I did workshops, I always took a challenge. I looked at any content as either a free or paid opportunity. So if I was pitching a challenge, I would, of course, call, I would contact, call, anything. We didn't have, all these platforms back then. I would use Eventbrite, which I did use because I couldn't figure out how to connect to PayPal or anything. So Eventbrite is really simple. It's free. It has a payment processing. You can connect it to an email marketing system. Easy peasy. 1, 2, 3. Stop overthinking. Second option is you can send a Facebook money request. I think they still have that. Send it to a person. Be like, hey guys, if you want to just do this in a Facebook group, yes, you could actually do this. I think I haven't tested it out using a Facebook room. Do it. Don't think about the platform. Spend more time actually just putting yourself in the hot seat and saying that you're going to do it. You will figure it out. It may take like an hour of learning, a platform like Zoom. It's free under 40 minutes. It may take, figuring out another platform or like using StreamYard. I think it's 25 a month for one platform. That's secondary. Most important is actually getting people to want to buy it. So how do you actually get them to even know about you? What I would actually, and what we're going to do right now is focus on that, actually getting people to know about you. So we're going to talk about what would I actually talk about to get people to this $10. Clearly, I'm not going to show them the whole guide, but I'm going to start dripping out for 7 days before I'm going to tell them this $10 class. This $50 class at 10, for 10 people. And I'm going to give them this whole entire guide. Plus we're going to have like 4 meetings. And you might say that's a lot, but is it really 4 meetings for 30 minutes? Because I know that people are going to want to work with me one-on-one. They're going to want to work with me. And in a time where, coaches are trying to build on higher ticket. It's not that I want you to undervalue yourself. You have to show your value. And that's where I think coaches really struggle. And especially for those of us who can struggle at times because our story is so connected, just get right with your money mindset and then build your value ladder. So really right now, and then I'm going to go into what we're going to do. You're going to build your value ladder. You're going to start here. How are they coming to find us? Right now, we're going to focus on the list builder. We're going to focus right now on what we're talking about, the awareness. We're going to bring them to a low cost, the low cost. This is our workshop, our paid workshop. You can also, of course, use this as a freebie, but we're going to just say a paid workshop for $50. And we're going to get 10 people. You, of course, can do this in one of our other workshops, but I'm going to just show you how simple it is to use this and to really use this with some talking points and, of course, charge for 30 minutes. So again, you could use this on Zoom for the meeting feature for, no money. Okay, so I'm going to riff through how, of course, I would pre-market this. Hey guys, it's Rachel Feldman. You know my story. And if you don't, head over to rachelswellness.com. I work with a lot of people just like me. IBS, hair falling out, a lot of different diagnoses. I was told that I have leaky gut. I was told that I had heavy metals. I had yeast infections, urinary tract infections, toe fungus. I had foggy brain. I had bags under my eyes, which later led to adrenal fatigue issues. Always had a white coating on my tongue. I had really bad breath. Even times I had nasty BO and more. And so what we're going to do, did I tell you constipation and even loose stools? I had so many different health issues. Ulcer, gurgling in my stomach. There is so many things I can tell you, which is why over the next 5 days, I'm going to talk about this $50 opportunity to be with me for 1 month, where I'm going to deep dive into gut health. If you want to do this, yes, I know. 4 classes with me. It's going to be super simple. I'm going to give you an entire guide where I'm going to start us off on a Get Gut Health challenge with me. But what I want to do is talk about why so many people have a tough time understanding gut health. It can be extremely complicated. When we start off, we are going to actually go over different probiotic sources. Some of my favorites, as you know, and I'll just bring up one. You guys are going to see, I'm going to give you an army with all the probiotic and prebiotic sources. We're going to talk about cultured foods. We're going to talk about getting off gluten. I'm even going to show you my favorite, yes, bread that took me years to find. Because if you have kids and you know this face, when you make a sandwich, do not worry. It took me literally 5 years to find a bread that actually tastes yummy so that your kids don't go, yeah, or that you don't even feel like you're eating chewy, I don't even know. On day 2, and trust me, this won't even be day 2. We're going to start off the first week where we're going to understand probiotics, and I'm also going to figure out and help you figure out, because I know that you're extremely busy, how actually to have ones that you can travel with and that you don't even need to refrigerate. Because so many of my clients and myself, how many times do we like leave our house, or we have to travel, or we just need to buy our bed, or maybe we are just kind of those people that just get overwhelmed. I get it. So I'm going to show you my favorite ones that you don't need to refrigerate. Also, some really good ones that are great if you have a lot of intestinal problems, or maybe you've been told, like me, that you have some issues with yeast, or that you have had some chronic infections like sinus infections. Listen, girlfriend or guy friend, I can't have a boyfriend because I'm married. If you have those chronic sinus infections, no. That means that we have some bacteria, and it isn't just in your sinuses, ears, nose, throat, down to your anus. This means that somewhere in our whole ecosystem, it's not so pretty. We need to actually change the entire terrain, plant a new garden, and actually fertilize that garden. And so if you're having a chronic problem, like a sinus infection, which is so common, it's not common. That means there is a problem actually that in the root, a root problem in the garden, that we actually need to pull back up that root and see what is actually happening. And so a lot of my clients would always say to me, well, I'm taking a probiotic. No, probiotic is not working. Maybe there needs to be a prebiotic. Maybe there's also a bigger problem. And that's the thing that I always have empowered my clients. I am a coach. I'm not here to diagnose. I'm here to help you not go down the road that I went to. It's not standard for you to be sick. It's not standard for you to have viruses, chronic viral issues. And if you do, like me, if you have a family where in your genetic lineage there is Epstein-Barr virus, or there's been mono, which is herpes, or you find that your children have, some different rashes where the different doctors, my brain can't remember these different names, or maybe your kid, you've been told that there are some different little things on your kid's skin, and that is of the herpes family, then guess what? It's okay. Take a deep breath. There are so many people in the world that have these kind of things, and our job is not to sit there and shame and blame, but to be eyes wide open so we can actually navigate this world and not feel completely out of control. What happens to so many people is we are not eyes wide open, and then all of a sudden we go from healthy, not understanding the warning signs, we move over into a warning sign state, and then all of a sudden we're in disease state. We don't just wake up in a disease state. We don't just birth children with celiac or a number of other issues. We don't just have children who have ADD, ADHD, or spectrum-related issues. There are things brewing passed from the mother to the child, and then we have to play what I call cleanup. And so what we do is I'm here to help you to navigate either those questions that you can ask self, help you to find a baseline for your own, body, for your own detoxification abilities, and also to just help you look around at some basics, like reading labels. I was sitting there last night, about to buy grape leaves, and I turned to my husband and I said, thank God that I worked with so many people. And thank goodness I know from doing allergy testing and also from understanding food allergies to food intolerances and sensitivities that I looked to see there was soy oil. Because not only are we highly allergic, but I know that we have a sensitivity to it. And I also know that we do not do well with soy. And I know that from testing on self and also from my mother having a thyroid issue in utero with myself and being put on, Synthroid, that there is a direct relationship between soy and thyroid. So this is some of the kind of things that I get, to pass on to you because I don't want that to be happening in your family. On day 3, we're going to talk about my favorite, fermented veggies, and also these cool drinks that if you have kids and you want to love up their belly, that we get to dive into. So I'm going to literally bring you into my fridge, answer all these questions, and talk about how you can love up your gut because, guys, I did so much, but what's crazy is my kids were still born with imbalances because the truth is, we all have some level of leaky gut. If we didn't, we would all be healthy with boosted immune. We wouldn't get sick. We wouldn't have, this brain and gut axis issue. So then there would be constant balance of mood. There wouldn't be these dips. And for some of us, the truth is, like people like me, that food and mood is directly related to my anxiety. And you know what? I'm one of those people, genetic wise, that don't make as much serotonin. And so if you're like me and you're already predisposed to just not make as much as others, I know that I've worked so hard my whole life. And I thought for the longest time, it just was my fault. And it's not. It's just for some of us, we need to love up our gut a little more. So maybe you've got kids that are like that, or maybe your significant other is like that. And that's why we've just got to love up this a little more. And then we're going to do my favorite. This is something that was introduced to me a long time ago. Some of my favorites out there, Chris Kressler, some of my teachers, Donna Gates, some of my other favorite people I've just loved up on. Isabella Wen, some of my other favorite mentors, Anne Louise Gittleman, talk about systemic enzymes. And so we're going to talk about enzyme-rich foods. These are all things that even if you never wanted to buy a supplement, and again, not here to diagnose, just share all the stuff that I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known. I wish my mom would have known. And I wish that this information would be so easy to find, but you've got to be like this. You've got to buy all the books. You've got to know where to look. And that's a shame. That's a freaking shame. So we're going to go through all some really cool things. And it's just going to be a place where you can get the knowledge. It shouldn't be overwhelming. And that's also why I'm here to help. And then we're going to go over all these probiotic, rich, fun, loving foods. I was just actually listening this morning to one of my favorite, Dave Asprey and Paul Chek, which I, was talking about. Some people are about eating primal. I was primal eating. I was raw. I was macrobiotic. I was 80-20. I was keto. I was paleo. I think I've been everything. I'm now what I call I'm not dramatic. I have just found what works for me. And they were like, yeah, eat primal, don't eat nuts, don't eat this. I've learned I don't do well with nuts. I don't do well with dairy. I don't do well with butter. I'm allergic to casein, which is actually the protein in dairy. Doesn't matter if it's, blessed from the higher ups, it does not do well in my body. And I've learned over the many years that that also has to do with eating with the seasons. Thank you, Paul Pitchford, the first book I found when I was 25 and really sick. I've also learned that it's imperative to eat with the seasons because that is the bounty that naturally detoxifies, supports, and nourishes and tonifies the body for each season. I've also learned that there isn't this one diet because each one of us has a different constitution. Very important. Each one of us has a different ability to detoxify. Very important. I've also realized that each one of us processes in a completely different way. And that's why when we learn to really honor and stop comparing ourselves and be like, oh, but there's this one detox. Well, okay, no problem. But then sit with that and say, for who I am, with my unique body, with my ability to detoxify, with my stress levels, with my ability to remediate, which is to rebuild, with my ability to, sit with these herbs. Do I need to pulse them? Which means to do it one day and then to sit back. There's not a right or wrong. And that is why I coach the way I coach, because we live in this world of a one size fits all. It doesn't exist like that. And that is why I think that we actually are in the sickest world that we ever live in, because we have been forced into a one book, a one box, a one size fits all, which didn't work years ago. And yet we have more books that are eat like this and you'll lose fat. Here, this works for the woman of 50. We know things that are paramount and pivotal. We know, and yet we constantly deviate. And so, guys, you know what? Ask one thing of you. Please just pull back and say to myself, what does feel right? I encourage you just to pull from each person and just, ask soul, ask heart. Go back to that intuition. Go back to should I eat the cilantro? Is that in common sense? Is that going to pull heavy metals? Yeah. Would this be good for me? Yeah. Do I breathe pollution? Yeah. Does the rug omit, nasty stuff? Uh-huh. Do I live in a bubble? Mm-mm. Do I live in an ashram? Probably not. Would it be wise? Yeah. Just start simple. I always would tell my clients, mineralize, because we don't drink minerals. Most of us are not drinking from the faucet. Mineralize. I'm not a great meditation breather. And so I constantly remind myself, and I think about the days when I went to Omega for a 3-day meditation. It didn't work so well. To remind myself to not listen to those who say you have to meditate this certain way, but to get on my rebounder and to breathe and to honor who I am, and to listen to people like Paul Chek, who said, I had a lot of anger when I was a child, from the sadness that I had watching, the things that I watched when I grew up, and to be reminded to follow the people that I need to follow, to be reminded it's okay that you release through exercise, and to not listen to those who say, don't do that, that's not good, because we all are permitted to live that in which we feel is right for each other. And to just be reminded to come back to our center and stop apologizing. And so if you have any questions, just send me a personal message or a DM, because I'm the coach for people who just feel like, they don't fit into a box. All right, guys, if you have any questions, go to rachelswellness.com. I have these 3 freebies actually there. One is on the 7 steps to digestive health. I've got these cool little videos. It's very different from doing this challenge with me, because this is guided, and we get all these cool, live Q&As. I also have some 3 basic detox methods that I do every day. And I also have one on foods for cleansing your body. And if you have any other questions, you know where I am. All right, guys. That, no joke, is just what's in me, because that is how I talk. That's how I live. That's how I feel. And that is how I built my business. I would say that took practice, but that is no different from how any of you feel in your heart. And I only showed you that challenge because to just show you how I rolled through it. If you're doing a live, if you're doing videos, and I was sitting there with Jess Royston, who is one of my just besties from being a coach. And I'll never forget, she stalked me in a good way. She stalked me when Ayan was having a live conference in Miami. And she was like, okay, you graduated in 2010. I have to meet you. And she was like, I'm going to meet you. And I am going to be outside waiting. And I had, called her right when I had pulled up in outside the Miami conference. She jumped into my truck, and we were like instant connection. And I was just talking to her last week saying, Jess, like, what am I not teaching? And she's like, Rach, just teach them and show them what you do and what some of us do more naturally because we are storytellers. And so it hit me in that moment to just show you how easy it is on what she does, on what a lot of us do, which is just to pull up the information. It's really difficult. And you will see, that's why I always make notes. Many people are sitting there and they are talking, but it's not without preparation. And so, know what you want to talk about and know what the problem is, what that person needs to know about you to hire you. And that's why I call it like that intro video of your story. That's so important. A lot of us just come in and we're like, well, I'm going to just teach everyone. The teaching part is imperative, but the teaching is not just what gets you hired. The teaching is what validates that, yes, you know what you're teaching about. Those micro stories of what you've been through. So it's like, here's this little like about me. This is why I do it. This is what happened. This is what life was like. This is, yes, behind the scenes of my life. But it's feeding in this mini problem and a solution. The problem and the solution and the promise. Like, and you heard me say that, like, here's the difference of working with me. Here's the difference of working with me. Here's the difference. And you heard it many, many different times. And when you go back to listen to this, if you don't know what's different about working with you, I see a lot of you and I hear a lot of you contact me constantly from a lot of different schools say, I took this program or this course, I built XYZ, or I took this course on 1, 2, 3, and I still don't know either who I serve, what my promise is, and it really makes me sad. It's not that those courses aren't amazing courses, but what I feel often gets left out because we spend a lot of time creating versus really cultivating and connecting. And it's in that cultivating, why do we do this? What is the promise? And it's not just the promise of the sales page. It's not just the promise of the program, but it's like, what do your freebies, how do they reflect what your signature offers are about? Your low cost offer, that's really building trust. That's a no-brainer. Even if you did a $10 offer and you got 10 people, that's $100. If 4 of those people upsold to a single offer for a 60-minute session and you wanted to personalize a 14-day, let's just say a detox, or a 14-day plant-based program, or a 7-day primal program, or a 14-day paleo program, 150 times 4. My brain is a little off today. It's 300, 600. That's $600 plus 100. That's using Acuity for, payment processing or Practice Better. We're not even on a platform. We're not even in an email marketing. You've asked people to DM you, to PM you. That is what we call business building. That has nothing to do with anything else. It has nothing to do with, should I do a Facebook ad? Should I do this? We've so deviated from people buying people and not products. People don't buy products. People don't buy your fancy cover. That is what gets people to stop on social media. That's not what has a person buy from you. They buy from you because they connect with you. They buy from you because in that connection, they see value. And they, for the first time, feel that somebody understands where they've been and that they can take them to a different place. Transformation isn't because somebody's like wowed by your sales page. Transformation is because they feel in your voice and in your experiences that they actually can get to a different place. And especially for those of you, I hope that this has been such value, because if you're converting in your challenges, in your webinars, and you're not actually converting to your paid offers, you're actually not converting. And so I understand if you're extremely frustrated. That's why I always say, if you haven't mastered, I call it the one-on-one discovery call, and I don't do it salesy. I never have. I've been in sales my entire life. I've only worked for somebody once, and that still was in a sales position that I pitched, I solidified, and I got exactly what I wanted because I knew the value of me and what I could bring to their business. If you don't know why you're unique and you're special, even if you doubt yourself, it's really hard to get on a discovery session, from a webinar, from a challenge. Otherwise, you're just sitting on a call for nothing and wasting your time. So, please think about your offers. I always say 3 freebies, 3 workshops, a low cost, a mid, and a high offer. That's your work with me page. If you don't know what your offers are, there's a lot of, yeah, well, I have 5 spots. If you don't, that's sales. I have 5 spots. And, if you don't close today, do you want to talk to somebody? That's a script. A script does not feel good in the health and wellness industry, especially if there's trauma, especially if it's fertility, especially if it's a sensitive issue, if it's an autoimmune, especially if it's a sensitive person. C'est la vie. Go then sell something that's, a computer, a copy machine. Go and do sales. If that is the strategy that you want to do. But if you're in a heart-based business, be willing to let go of that completely BS structure that does not work for anybody and is sold to everybody. I've been and I've spoke at very few large, what I call those those big stage things, because at the end of it, they go, here, okay, we've got this offer right now. It's going to be X amount of money. Here, don't leave the room. Don't speak to your significant other. Make the decision yourself. And I look around and the majority of the room is women. And I sit there and I say, as rage is fuming, because all I stand for is empowerment. And I think, wow, are we seriously saying that? Because when I was looking for business coaches, and I would say year 2 of my business, in the main struggle where I was straight up going to quit 1,000 times a day, And we have 86,400 seconds. So you know how many times that's quitting. I had a few coaches who were baller women, and I straight up wanted everything they have. And if you can identify with that, drop baller in the comments, because I had some women I was like stalking and loving and wanted everything they had. And I had set up application only with them. And I will remember 2 women saying to me, wow, if you really want this, you won't even contact your husband right now. You will just sign up right now because I only have 5 spots. And I said, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. We are $60K in debt. And if I made any decision, empowerment to me is that I'm not scared to go and say to my husband, I want to do this. And if I really was in an empowered relationship, I would be able to say that. And I am so disgusted that you would say that. And to close this, I had a conversation yesterday with a woman who had said to me, I have listened to so many videos and I asked a lot of questions because I answer not all of my customer support. I used to, and I've been told by every virtual assistant marketing company, you have the most ridiculous approach we have ever seen. It's just such a time waster and you should automate everything. And I always say, people are not automation. I hate when I have a question and nobody answers. Days go by. I'm like, it makes me like crazy. And so I don't operate my business. I built my business in the way that the women who saved me from myself. And I can tell you exactly their names because they are on my vision board. Their names are on my vision board because I wouldn't be me without them. And they're like, I know, but like you could be making twice what you make. It's always the same thing. I say, maybe, but I don't know. Nobody can ever figure out how I do this. And they're like, I know, but you could be making more. And I'm like, really? Because I don't know, this seems to like work for me in my heart. And I always get this pushback. And I say, but I love talking to coaches. I'm a coach. And so it doesn't feel right for me to like do that. And it doesn't feel right to me like automate. I love automation, but automation does not replace human contact. Gary Vaynerchuk said many years ago, and I built my business in a recession 10 years ago. And Gary Vaynerchuk says, what if we actually adopted this human contact? What if we actually treated every person like a VIP and not this numbers and not, what if we didn't focus on the likes on our Instagram post? What if we didn't focus on, only 10 people signed up? What if you took the time to shoot a video on loom.com? You have to do it on the Chrome version and watch the videos. Take the time. Don't, take the time to watch it. Shoot a video like we used to do 10 years ago when we didn't have all these fancy platforms and we wasted all our energy thinking about this. Take the time to shoot a video to those 10 people and nourish those 10 people instead of wasting all the energy saying, oh, but only 10 people. I guarantee you, as Gary Vaynerchuk says, probably 4 of those would sign up instead of us focusing on not enough people. What if we stopped comparing ourselves to every screenshot testimonial? Because the truth is, every testimonial you see on my site, Megan Rand, JJ, Jess Royston, they all did what I showed you today. They pulled the materials and they showed up consistently. They showed up consistently and they thought about their ideal client. They thought about the pain and the problem, and they personalized it to their own life. They talked, Megan Rand from Zesty Ginger talked about the mold in her house. She talked about the sadness she had that she birthed these kids with issues. She talked about the grogginess and the fatigue and the guilt that she had as being a mom. That she was sick, that these hormones, that she really thought she detoxed her body. Jess Royston talked about having gut issues and these food allergies, and her commitment to bring up these kids without that. And she raised this awareness and she brought people into her life. She didn't just have people follow her because she was like, hey guys, we're going to talk about detox. She separated herself from the rest of everyone else because she shared her why. She brought people into her life. She showed people her behind the scenes. She showed people the value and built that like, know, and trust factor because people are like, oh my God, I can't wait to see Jess. That's why she has 159 likes. It isn't because she spends all day on Instagram. It's because it's enjoyable to follow her because she brings value. And so what if we spend more time doing that instead of just saying, hey guys, today we're going to banish sugar cravings. Tell me why. Why is that important to you? Did you once have blood sugar imbalances? Did you once have emotional eating? Are you emotionally eating now? How is this environment right now affecting your sugars, your gut? Are you having sleep issues? Do you find yourself having skin rashes? How are you handling life right now? Hit me with that. Otherwise, guess what? I'm going to keep scrolling. Separate yourself. And if you're struggling on social media, because it can get tiring, it doesn't have to be tiring, reach out to people locally. Pitch yourself. Be confident because you didn't go through all of this to just go through it. You went through it for a purpose. It's not your passion, it's your purpose, but you do have to believe in it. Nobody can give that to you. Our programs, our workshops, or anything, they're content so you can rise. So you don't have to spend all the time doing it, but you still have to download it. You have to edit it so you be it, so you become it. You do have to put the fear to the side and you have to do that mindset work, that the mindset that you're like, I'm going to own it. I'm going to give myself compassion. I'm going to forgive myself and I'm going to rise above and save that pain for somebody else. Most people, like I said to you in the beginning, are not your ideal, are not us. Most people just have to do the basics. And some people are going to be exactly like you. But the truth is, people just need to hear your inspiration, then your story, the solution, and they will hire you. But it's not just that once. You need to consistently show up, be yourself. Don't be anybody else. They will see right through it. And you also won't feel that magic. So with that being said, hey guys. All right. If you have any questions, shoot me a DM. Shoot me a PM. I would say also send us a message. The easiest probably, I would say the easiest also is when you hear it from other coaches. Go listen to our podcast at rachelafeldman.com. You can usually hear like my personal stuff on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, or Instagram and my stories at Rachel A. Feldman. And with that being said, peace out, guys. Love you, bigs.